G'day everyone, and welcome to another Phil and Jen in the Philippines, Phil in Australia, but this is another episode. A more positive thing this time. That's the first trip after you've decided to reside for a period of time in the Philippines, and how to set up. So as normal, subscribe, thumbs up if you like the video and the content. Otherwise, tell your friends and share the video. The purposes of this particular one is you've decided to come over, and what you should be looking at as far as accommodation is concerned, how soon you should make up your mind as to where you're to live, and some of the reasons you should possibly look at, or at least consider, some of the things I say. There's a different scenarios for everyone that comes over here or over to the Philippines, and obviously I can't cover every scenario, but I can give you a generic couple of types, and you may fit into one of those categories. The first one is you've met a girl online, and she's a province girl, and you've been corresponding. You may even have been out a couple of times, and you're considering obviously living in the province because she has land available or something to that effect, and the idea and the inclination is to be immerse yourself in Filipino culture in the provinces. You've seen where she lives, you've seen the land, and you're considering, residing there with her, or you may be on your own and want to live that way. The situation is, it's very much up to the individual, but let's assume that you've met this girl, she's in the province, she's taken you out, you've introduced you to the family, and you have decided, yes, when I come out we're going to live in this area here. What you've got to consider in the province is you're relatively isolated from other people of your ilk and the way you think. You're going to have probably some expats in the general vicinity, but they're not going to be close by most of the time. Then again, how much do you invest when you get over there? Because if your intention is to go into the provinces and possibly rent a premises for a period of time, rental premises aren't of the standard of which you would be acceptable, I would assume, to a lot of you people. So what would happen is you'd probably stay at the parents' house where she's residing for a period of time, and we all know that that's not something that people of our age wish to do, share a house, and a very small house most of the time, with other people. So you want to crack on and do something. What I would suggest is there's a number of things you can do if you want to go native, for want of a better word. You can purchase pre-assembled nipa huts, which are little grass huts, and that's very romantic. They're very small, but they're very affordable, and they basically are a bedroom and a little veranda of which you can sit on until you are comfortable with the situation and decide that this is where you want to stay for a period of time. The thing about those little bamboo nipa huts that you can buy pre-assembled, apart from being tiny, they have a shelf life of about 2 years, if you're lucky. They rot and they're not treated half the time and whatever, so consider that. If you wish to invest in a slightly bigger house, there's plenty of designs around with a concrete floor and a few three-course brick walls, and then you finish it off in bamboo, and it's quite acceptable, and then you put a tin roof on it, and so you don't have to invest a great deal of money. Be very cautious, as I said, with the 2-year rule, before you go investing a large amount of money in a premises in the provinces. And the reason I say that, you can overcapitalise on it, and even if you think, well, someone will buy it, the reality is there's very few people that have the amount of money to buy a Western style house in the province. I'm not saying that there's none. All I'm saying is that it makes it very difficult to dispose of a property if you decide to move and whatever. And as I said in previous videos, until you live there, you just don't know what's going on. So if you're going to invest very small amounts. Hold on, I'll just see if I can move so you don't hear the lawnmower. Anyway, it doesn't look like I can find anywhere that's that quiet, but we'll continue because it's getting further away. So as I said, try to invest as little as possible and make yourself comfortable over there until you're 100% sure you want to stay in that area and go from there. What I would suggest, however, is that you find or you reside in, for a number of reasons, a larger section of the Philippines, whether it be a larger town or city. One, it has facilities. Two, usually there's a greater expat population that you can then go and talk to as far as advice is concerned and whatever, and they have banking facilities and this type of thing. It's just not as difficult to live in a populated area. The other thing is too, don't get too entrenched in the families very quickly. Now, a lot of people go over there from the West and, they want to immerse themselves in this and they want to involve themselves with the families, and the families will be very welcoming and whatever. But you can get entrenched in family politics, not government politics, but family politics, and they'll treat you as part of the family, and a majority of them will require some form of assistance. Some won't, but like you open yourself up to that, and if you're close at hand, you may run into that situation. It's always good in a new relationship you don't get too close to the family too soon, because we don't know how that relationship's going to pan out. So as I said, the second one is and my suggestion is go to a larger populated area, a city or a township with a reasonable population and reasonable facilities that may be close by to where your girlfriend's family come from. And again, 2 years is a good period of time to feel comfortable about A, where you're living, even in a township, and B, whether or not you have too much or too little involvement with the family, and you can live your separate lives. So she's not feeling obligated in regard to her family every day of the week, and you can live a separate life and a probably a more normal life, one that you're possibly used to as well, and you can make your own decisions without having to continually refer to the family. And again, there's a third one. You want to, you've got a girl over there or something, and you want to live in a particular place. It could be Boracay, it could be Manila. Well, then the decision comes about where the girl, if you are involved with the girl, she's got to uproot and she's got to go there. But from time to time she'll want to go home. But that's the best case scenario. But of course, in larger centres, it's more expensive to live. So all these things have got to be taken into account. If you don't rush into and make these decisions, these life-changing decisions too early, all I can suggest to you is you won't lose a great deal of money if you decide to change your minds, because even if you can sell premises over there, and I'm talking about the premises, remember the previous videos, it's very difficult to purchase land or lease land, or it's very complicated unless you do corporate land, or refer to the other video. But if you can sell it, nothing in the Philippines goes quickly. So it may take you 12 or 18 months to sell that property and recoup some of the funds. And the other thing is, if you build on somebody else's land, such as the family land, the pressure is going to be on you to give that house and not sell it, because they've got to okay the people that are going to buy it. So, as I said, keep this all in the back of your head. Caution, caution, caution. Think about it longer than you make the decision. Do not make anything on the fly, and err on the side of caution. It might be all wonderful now and everybody loves you and you're getting along fine, but you've got to realise that this is a new life for you. Everything's bright and shiny. Everyone's on their best behaviour, and they can keep that up for 6-12 months before reality strikes, and then all of a sudden the quaint village living isn't that quaint anymore. So keep this in mind. So, as I said, my suggestion is you go to an area where you feel comfortable in and visit until you feel more comfortable in the area you're visiting before you make those decisions. As always, I would suggest, if at all possible, especially after me building premises over there, on hindsight, I would probably never build. If I had the choice again, I would have rented. And people say, oh, but the rents go up. That's not necessarily so. The Filipinos would prefer to have, in my experience, people in there that are consistently paying the rent, and they haven't got any risk factor, and they'll let you go on for years and years and years at the same negotiated rent, in my experience. That may change, but anyway. And it also doesn't restrict you that if you have to leave for any particular reason, whether it be health or a breakup or whatever, that you're not restricted. So try to travel light. And when I say that, try to travel, whereas anything you purchase or anything you get rid of, given the worst case scenario, you can walk away from it without ruining you. And if you keep that in the back of your head, there's a million guys over there at the moment, and I'm one of them that said, it's going to be this way forever. And, one thing that's consistent all around the world is change, and things do change. And external of what, like in my particular case, the reason I had to leave had nothing to do with the Philippines. It had more to do with obligations I had at home and whatever. So, all these influences it wasn't health or anything, will influence you as to a decision you're going to make in the future. And if you try to preempt those things and say this is not going to happen and that's not going to happen, believe me, things will happen. And if you have to walk away, please don't leave your life savings in the Philippines, whether or not you move to another area of the Philippines or whatever. Try to do it light, do it as cheaply as possible. And life can be really good. Like you're there to enjoy yourself. You're not there to get into a situation whereas, you're worried about money and whatever. Live within your budget. If your pension's X amount, say for instance it's $1,500 a fortnight or whatever, only, try not to spend more than $1,000. Don't budget for your entire income. And that sounds very childish, but on the same token too, in a year or two you'll thank me if you abide by that, because it's very easy to be looking for your next pension check or your next annuity to come in because you've run out of money. You've got to save, probably harder in the Philippines to save money to survive and cover those things that do occur. It's very, very easy to get into a situation because you think, everyone looks at me as being wealthy, cigarettes and booze and entertainment to a certain degree is cheap. It's very easy to get up to your full limit and then all of a sudden something happens. And your buying power is getting less and less, as I said. So anyway, that's about it. For the guys that stay there, and enjoy it, that's fantastic. And there's plenty of places in the Philippines that are an absolute ball, and I know a lot of my subscribers are having a ball over there, and it's Shangri-La. There's a lot of great things about the Philippines. I'll point out a lot of bad things, but those were specifically pointed out simply, so just the advice is avoid them. Like if you know they're there and they're going to bite you on the ass, avoid those situations at all costs. Avoid the politics, avoid all those things. But I brought them up simply to say, like it's not all rosy. If you go headlong into a situation in a foreign country, you're thinking, because they're smiling everywhere and everyone's very welcoming, that it's going to be rosy and you're going to create these lifelong friends, which some of you will. But on the same token, when push comes to shove, you don't want to be caught thousands of miles from home and in diabolical trouble because you've shot your mouth off or well, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, subscribe, as I said. That's about it for this one. Share if you would. Guys, I've got some really big news. I'm about to launch another channel which has nothing to do with the Philippines, but 95% of my viewers, it will affect them. I will give you more information in vlogs to come. As I said, it's not to do with the Philippines, but it's to do with people of our age and some of the things we are going through at the moment. And I'll let you in on that, and hopefully at least some of you, or if not all of you, I'd love all of you just to flick it across when it goes on air, have a look at it and see if it's your cup of tea and go from there. But I'll fill you in as we go. Love your comments, even the negative ones and whatever. And I know reviewing my tapes that some of it could be construed as negative and whatever, but it's there just to warn people, basically. Okay, catch us in the next video. Cheers from now.